What's going on, my people? Welcome back to Israel's Movie Reviews. And today we're going to be discussing Wonder Woman 1984. And this was a movie that was stuck in production for a while, not because of its own doing, but because of the pandemic. And this was actually one of the first movies I saw within a 15-month span during the pandemic, when everything was shut down and we were going through pretty much chaos. Buildings being boarded up and things going outside regarding marches and a lot of stuff in the world happening. And I was really happy when this movie actually came to the theaters. I enjoyed the first movie thoroughly, and I went into this one pretty blindsided. I didn't really know too much about it, actually. And I'm glad I didn't, because it caught me for a loop. So let's get straight into it, man. Wonder Woman 1984 was a 2020 production, written and directed by Patty Jenkins, who wrote and directed the first one. And this was the first film I saw in a movie theater after a 15-month hiatus due to the pandemic. The choice obviously was not intentional, but I'm satisfied that the film was the first. By saying that, I would like to say that I want to pay homage as a cinephile to the producers, because I welcome the fact that they launched the film in theaters, wherever possible during the pandemic. They didn't further delay the launch, and they didn't resort to streaming distribution channels as others did. And of course, watching movies on the big screen all the time, especially during that time, I was really itching and scratching to go to a movie theater, but we couldn't go due to the pandemic. There was more, obviously, important things to worry about at the time. But Wonder Woman 1984 was a film that benefited from this format. Obviously, it's a sequel to the 2017 production, and many of the good things that can be said about successful sequels can be said about this one, especially, as well as many other critical things that are said about those that fail. And all in all, it seemed to me that the film, even if it failed to match expectations or the surprise and consistency of the first installment, this one does not disappoint or discourage me from going in the future and seeing the next films and the next installments of the series. If and when they arrive. My positives and my takes on this film was basically the beginning. If the Wonder Woman movies go ahead and continue, the opening sequences that connect the past and the Amazonian origins of the heroines will become a specific brand. I love the way they utilize the games and how these women train and become these Amazonian figures, especially if they have the quality and the dynamic aspect like in the first two films, with this one being included. Gal Gadot's character continues to be a smart, powerful, in love role model to young girls all over the world, and I thought that was so awesome. If there's a such thing as quality feminism, this is it. And the relaxed atmosphere of the story and the humor that's presented in almost every scene consistently reminded us that we're dealing with a film inspired by comics, a mixture of genres, superhero, and Indiana Jones, plus a little of Doctor Strangelove, which should not be taken too seriously. In addition to Gal Gadot, Kristen Wiig also creates an interesting feminine role in which she evolves from a spectacled scientific researcher with socializing problems, going through an irresistible vamp to a negative and feline superheroine by the end of the movie. The world of 1984, a world of future for the heroes who landed here straight from the First World War period, but outdated and old-fashioned for the perspective of today's spectators, gives us the opportunity for visual representation and some retro futuristic situations full of humor and nostalgic charm. This movie, you could tell it tries to take place in the 80s. And I think it definitely excels because not only the clothing, the vibe, but you could tell what they go for in this movie. And I thought it was comical, to say the least. And pretty much, I really have no mixed aspects. But my negatives on this film was, in contrast to the female roles, male roles in this series are much paler. They're more lessened. Chris Pine looks like a nice guy, but he can't convince me this time that he deserves the attention of a Wonder Woman. Pedro Pascual creates a super evil pushed too hard on the cartoonish side. I love Pedro Pascual, but I think he was outlandish in this role. I don't know if the script required him to be that way or he just took it upon himself to act with this bombastic personality, which I didn't feel sit well with the story or with the plot. The conflict that for the most part of the film, for me, wasn't acceptable within the limits of the genre. It finds a solution that looks conventional and tributary to the contemporary norms of politically correct rhetoric. I hope that there will be a future installment in the series, but in order for them to arouse interest and ensure continuity, it's necessary for them to work harder with more inspiration at the script and the selection of actors to give more depth and credibility to the male roles and to the negative heroes. You know, all these historic eras, including the contemporary one, have or even had are in the great need of superheroes and superheroines to save the world or at least to improve society, including the position of women in it. So we still need a Wonder Woman. And this movie, although pretty well, it could have been better. For me, you can't compare it with the first one. This movie felt like a couple of movies blended together in one. With certain love scenes, not sex scenes, love scenes, action, level kind scenes. And there were many scenes that were kind of cheesy and messy, and it had that campy feeling that I didn't really like necessarily, not for a DC movie. That's not what they're known for. They're known for their gritty, their dark take on the superhero culture. And this movie, it differed in many ways from that, In that aspect, it was a huge disappointment for me, but I'm glad that they kind of corrected it towards the end of the movie. I felt that the quality of the film, the cinematography was great. I think the movie was really fun. It contained some solid action sequences at times. The entire film doesn't fit together as I would have liked, but there, were standouts. The sequel doesn't have the simple story. It doesn't have that uniqueness that Wonder Woman 2017 had. The plot is a bit too crazy. It's a bit too out there, making wishes with a stone and then wishing to destroy the world. In a DC world where you have a Superman, you have a Batman, and then you bring a villain like that to this movie, it was lackadaisical, for a blockbuster picture that seemed destined to be given to us in such a prominent way. It featured too many flaws. So, but overall, it was a lot of action. It was a lot of action. Started with action, pretty much ended with action. The movie could have been shorter, but overall, I'll give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. You should definitely go watch it if you're a DC fan. If you like the continuity of the Wonder Woman saga and you love Gal Gadot, then definitely take a look at this movie. You won't be disappointed. Kristen Wiig is going to make you laugh, and she actually looks really sexy in a lot of these scenes in the movie. So definitely go check it out. 7.5 out of 10. And if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. And if you want more content from me, all you gotta do is subscribe. Peace. To the next one.